Come on, man. Zombies are people too. A debate as old as time. Who can rip off a game better? Can Project Lazarus rip off COD better? Can Micheal Zombies rip off COD better? We're gonna find out today on this video. I have a Venn diagram that I'm gonna pop up occasionally when talking about my opinions on things and how they compare to other things to feed your TikTok fucking rotten brain. So have fun with that. Yeah, anyways, chapter 1. I have no zom, and I must be. In case it's not obvious, I'm gonna talk about the AI within the two games. And honestly, I think Micheal Zombies takes the brain cake here because their hit detection's better than Project Lazarus and they hit you more consistently. Other than that, both are pretty equal with the same bugs and same great pathfinding. So really, the only noteworthy thing about the AI between the two games is how much better they are than the competitors in the scene with their characters and enemies with their shitty ass pathfinding. Like every other single cash grabby fuck ass game on this platform, and literally any other mindless clicker RPG rip-off bullshit game, because unlike those games, these zombies won't mindlessly bash their skull into the fucking wall until you come out and put them out of their misery like a damn dog. So I would definitely give it to Micheal Zombies overall, simply because of the hit detection being good and the amount of times I've been getting omni-fucked by all sides 360 by Project Lazarus and not taking a single goddamn hit is insane. The deadliest thing in that game is the fucking ray gun and your bombs, because you're more likely to kill yourself with them than you are to die by the zombies, which necessarily isn't the worst thing ever because the game makes up for it in content and other things, but I am getting ahead of myself. So let's move on to the other segments before I spoil anything. And now we're on to the map section, and even here Micheal Zombies still wins due to the sheer size of the maps, how many there are, and the fact that there's actual objectives to do. Project Lazarus has no objectives other than to just survive and kill zombies, which, granted, that's most COD maps, right? And typically that is your objective most of the time, but it would be nice to have a little side thing to do, like most other COD maps, where they have actual objectives. In some of the Micheal Zombie maps, you will see actual ways to beat the maps. For example, in their Halloween events, they had trick-or-treat stuff, and you had to get a certain amount of points to buy to beat the map. Same with actually Origins, which is the April Fool's update. See, with the maps for Micheal Zombies, you can see a lot more personality coming through, a lot more of the developers' actual personalities and characters they put online coming through, making it feel more human. Other than like Project Lazarus, where Project Lazarus was a lot more cold and distant, you can't really see any developer personality influence on the game. You only really see like big corporation COD Zombies ripoff, copy and paste. Though I do feel like both of them struggle from a lack of trying to get out of just the Call of Duty mold. Project Lazarus much more than Micheal Zombies, at least in the map aspect. Because in Micheal Zombies, you'll see boss fights and all these other things, which you don't really see too often with these copy and pasted games. Whereas in Project Lazarus, on the other hand, really only has that copy and paste zombie survival wave mechanic. And it doesn't really stray too far away from the Call of Duty recipe. Out of whatever, probably fear, I'd imagine, for not appealing or something. I don't know, don't be afraid to mess with art and do new shit. That's really what I want. I want Project Lazarus to do some new shit, honestly. Like, I feel like if they just strayed further away from the COD shit and actually made a wave survival zombie game that's not just a direct COD ripoff, it would be 10 times better. You could still have the COD shit, just add extra new shit on top of it like Micheal Zombies is doing. Like, that would be pretty cool. But no, people just want to play it safe and keep as much appeal as possible to all players who want that nostalgia for COD but can't really afford to play COD right now. It makes me really sad to see these people just copy and paste instead of using all that developer talent on making a unique experience while building off of what COD already had. This is what remakes should be. I don't understand it. Micheal Zombies is doing great. They're doing a great job actually just making something more than a regular ass COD ripoff. Project Lazarus is over here just bashing their head against the wall. Ooh, let's make more guns. Dude, make a boss fight. Do something, man. You're like Mike Tyson and Jake Paul biting your glove right now. Instead of actually just throwing a punch, throw a punch back. You're on the ground. One big bonus I can give to Project Lazarus is that it's one of the few games I can run on my shitty laptop, meaning that it's very ease of access for many people, unlike Micheal Zombies, which has a much more complex and detailed map, which could also be a point for Micheal Zombies, but I like the performance on Project Lazarus better than I like all the details on the maps for Micheal Zombies. Granted, there is a low performance modes for shittier laptops and consoles and internet, so take that as you will, but I think I'd have to give a little bit of credit for Project Lazarus for running smoother than Micheal Zombies. Purely because there is just less detail and barely any textures. Which brings me to the gun models, which Micheal Zombies has Project Lazarus beat here too, because the guns on Micheal Zombies looks 10 times better than any gun Project Lazarus has made. Purely because there is more texture and care put into them. And including the pack-a-punches too, which when you pack-a-punch something in Project Lazarus, it just turns into some weird fucking red and black color. Totally didn't just look at the fucking video to see that. And Micheal Zombies has an entire color shift and color palette with it, rather than just the same red and black color. And this also goes to the zombies, where in Micheal Zombies, the zombies look like actual zombies with blood and rotten bits on them, with outfits to boot, when Project Lazarus is, and I quote, retroing it so hard with their basic zombies that look straight out of 2009. Ooh, retro. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, retro. So depending on the vibe you like, I would say either point, this point could go to either one. I prefer the more personalized zombies, as in I prefer the Micheal Zombies because they have actual personality to them and outfits and such, and the Project Lazarus zombies just look like dog shit because there's not even like a retro style to the game. Like, you're not retroing it hard, dude. You just have shit zombie models. I'm a zombie. Boo. Did I scare you? I just wanted to make sure you were aware and buckled up for this counter argument for Project Lazarus. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, man, this guy must really hate Project Lazarus since Micheal Zombies is all that he's praising. Well, no, this is not true. This is where I'm going to actually get into the other side of the argument for Project Lazarus. Now, yes, the models may be worse, but they have a leg up on Micheal Zombies that they do not have yet, which is the Pack-a-Punch. The Pack-a-Punch to me is the main appeal of both games, and Project Lazarus does it much better. Project Lazarus actually tells you what the guns are going to do when you Pack-a-Punch them, and they have more effects than just faster shoot, and bigger damage. Some of them, for example, you may see it in the background footage. I'm not quite sure because it's like a 40-minute footage of Project Lazarus that I don't feel like sifting through to find it. I might put it up, I might not. But there was this item called the Whiz Banger. You'll see it in my channel banner. And when you Pack-a-Punch it, it turns to Mjolnir. Now, what this gun does is every time I shoot it, it ends up creating a shockwave around me, doing good AoE damage, one-shotting most waves. I think from 25 and under, I'm not quite sure. But point I'm trying to get at is, despite the fact that the Whizbanger is a joke gun and is pretty bad, it's still usable and it's still fun and still has a unique synergy with the Pack-a-Punch, unlike Micheal Zombies. Unlike Micheal Zombies, where Micheal Zombies just has a generic, bigger damage, faster fire rate. Another gun that I can remember off the top of my head was this really long revolver. I forgot what it was called, but when you Pack-a-Punched it, it had this effect where each time you got a headshot, it spelt out the word Hangman. And when it spelled the word Hangman, you would get a 250% boost to headshot damage. I can't remember if it stacks or not, but I remember that it was really strong and really fun to use. Again, this is far more unique than anything Micheal Zombies does. And to me, that makes Project Lazarus the most replayable out of the group. Another thing about Project Lazarus, which you can say this is a point off or a point on, for me personally it's a point on, Project Lazarus has much more guns than Micheal Zombies does, and a much more wide variation of guns. For example, they recently dropped a musket and a nail gun, both really funny in concept and both pretty bad when actually used, but it's there and that's fun. It's new content and fun gameplay to just have these joke weapons that you can work with if you really want to, but you don't have to, right? The updates for Project Lazarus is gun related mostly, unlike Micheal Zombies, which I'm not sure how they update. I'm pretty sure it's more map oriented, but still, Project Lazarus has more guns, which makes it more replayable for me, because that's where the majority of your gameplay is going to drive from, is the actual guns. Now, Micheal Zombies does have boss fights and does have mini bosses and special perks. That is a leg up that they have above Project Lazarus, but that can fall flat for me pretty fast when I'm just using the same guns over and over and over and over. Many times I've caught myself in Project Lazarus just playing the mystery box just to find whatever gun I feel like and use and run with for a little bit. Sometimes even accidentally throwing, which, like, oopsie, but I wanted to run the musket, man. Fuck off. But that's fun. That's nice. That's awesome. I love having that ability to do that, unlike in Micheal Zombies. And so, despite all the shitting I'm doing on this game, despite all of that, I still think that Project Lazarus is a more fun game, purely because it's more replayable and more accessible. Granted, it's not on mobile yet, which Project Lazarus, please get on that. I still think that it is more accessible than Micheal Zombies, purely because it is lower detailed. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the video, I believe, and do the things you do at the end of the video if you really want to. And yeah, have a nice day. Didn't expect this to go on 14 minutes. Thought it'd go on for longer, honestly. And I forgot to do the Venn diagram, and honestly, I cannot be bothered to do it at this point. This has been a 3-day long video making process, and I'm currently wrapping this up at 2 a.m. because I cannot sleep. See ya.